Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Wednesday, April 6th, 2022, and this is my weekly book review episode. As always, to find all episodes of the podcast, links to social media, and other ways to contact me, as well as ways to donate, you can visit salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions for shows, or if you have stories of experiences, whether they're your own or from others you trust. Always happy to read those on the show or have you join me on the show to talk about those experiences. Either way is fine. Thank you all for being here. Whether you're listening to the live stream or the podcast feed or the YouTube channel feed. I see you there, Ken. Thank you for being here. So this may be a short episode. We'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to lead into something that I'm going to start reviewing here pretty soon. So maybe even next week. We'll see. But I believe that covers everything for now. Let's see here. Yeah, I think so. Alright, so I guess I can get right to the review. So I think it was 2 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago, as of tomorrow, I reviewed a book called The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. And I thought I would get to the sequel to that book in the episode, but I ran out of time. So this week, that's what I'm doing today, is reviewing that sequel. Just a couple of things. There will be spoilers. And also, it is a fairly dark book overall. It is Stephen King, so just to keep those things in mind. I think that basically covers that. And I think with that, I can get started in this. Now, so let's see here. The book starts off with a series of murders that start happening in this town called French Landing in Wisconsin. And the murderer is nicknamed the Fisherman due to the killer trying to emulate the methods of a serial killer, Albert Fish, who, if I'm not mistaken, is that actual real person from. So it's, but the book is fictional, obviously. And I'm looking at the summary of this book here. In this case, whoever this killer is, they target children, and they basically appear to be cannibalistic. 2 victims have already been found as the story starts, and a third is discovered not long after the story begins. So, the nature of the crimes lead to the police in the area. Lead the police in the area. I'm all messed up here. The police in this town, in the surrounding area, are having a really hard time catching the killer, so people all over the area are becoming more anxious as time goes on, and there's more of these victims being found. And of course, the media, this was kind of ironic in a way, the media doesn't help the situation, basically by covering it, but in a very, very sensational manner. And so that's how this book starts. Of course, then it shifts to the main character, who is Jack Sawyer, Now that is the boy in the Talisman, which is the first book in this little 2-book series. But he's not a boy anymore. He's grown up. He's repressed the memories of basically his time over in that other universe, parallel universe. Um, and but he still has basically memories of it that he tries to not to pay attention to. But he has become a police lieutenant in the L.A. PD, Los Angeles Police Department, and he's basically well known there for being really good at what he does. And there's a connection that is found possibly between a farm insurance salesman from French Landing, and then apparently L.A. So, so Jack goes to Wisconsin to work with the police there to capture the killer. But this was a different one. I'm sorry. This is a different killer that led him to that area, but he decides to stay there. Not long after, he responds to a investigation where the murder victim appears very much like Jack's friend from the first book, and it starts to bring back a lot of memories of the past that he doesn't really want to think of again. And so he basically retires from the police force early. He's still very young, I believe, like in his 20s. But he decides to retire from that. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at the chat here. Okay, so Ken says, if you don't know Albert Fish, do not look into it. You can't unknow it. I'm a fan of serial killer research, but I'm guessing, but he's, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I thought so. And it involves children. Okay, so there is a connection there. Hello, Derek, the Night Stalker, and Lily. Thank you all for being here for this. I'm not nearly as comfortable doing the book reviews as I am sharing the paranormal, the true paranormal stories from the web. It's something I'm still getting used to doing. So I appreciate you all being here for this. So, but anyway, so as I said, Jack Sawyer retires from the police. But then that's when these events start in French Landing with this killer that the media has started to call the Fisherman, and the police there basically beg Jack Sawyer to help them. And at first he refuses because he's really been shaken, and he's not sure he's totally, his mental health has taken a hit from everything, I think, from working and then that one case. But then a fourth child is taken, and Jack can't stay back anymore. And so this fisherman turns out to be more than just a serial killer. In fact, he's working for a character in Stephen King books, ironically, that is known as the Crimson King, who is basically this terrible, almost godlike being that is responsible for a good number of things that happen in various Stephen King books. And this is kind of this is I'm going to veer off course here for just a second. Um, I believe starting either next week or the week after that, because I still want to get back to the Lovecraft uh, stories. Hello, Jen. Jen, thank you for being here. And I see we have others here as well. Um, so yeah, thank you for being here. But so let's see here. But yeah, this Dark Tower series that Stephen King wrote. I think I'm going to start covering that, reviewing that soon because there are a lot of connections in other books of his that lead back to the Dark Tower series. So I think that'll help as I review more of his books after or outside of that series if I have that series reviewed. So anyway, we'll be doing that. We'll be starting that soon. I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So anyway, so basically, like I said, this Crimson King is a bad character on a lot larger scale than just the one killer. But anyway, this fisherman is able to go back and forth between dimensions, just like Jack was when Jack was a kid. And that's partly how he's avoiding the police. Let's see here. I think I'll just I guess I can include it. There's the reason for these abductions and killings is actually um, the fisherman has been ordered to find kids with amazing telepathic telekinetic abilities. And then when the kids don't appear to have anything like that, then they're basically given back to this killer, which is the terrible part of that. But it turns out that the one that goes missing at the beginning of this book here is one of the most powerful people or kids out there. Has the most power out there basically. And because basically what the Crimson King wants to do is destroy reality by breaking these lines of force that connect all the universes, called beams, BEAMS. And this is again going into, I think I'll stop there because it's going into the Dark Tower series. But and so that's basically how the story starts. And basically Jack trying to, wow, this ended up really short. Trying to find these kids, and eventually he does find this boy Tyler that he can't. He's basically super powerful. You know what I think I'm gonna do, because it wouldn't be hard. Let's start this. Why not? Because I've already read the book. If you'll just bear with me here for one moment, I'm just going to look up the summary to the first book in the Dark Tower series here, because I can't end the episode after 15 minutes. And I think we can at least get in the first book of the Dark Tower series. In this episode. That way we can kind of get started on that. I'm just entering it in here. Do this funny. Wikipedia is not the best for finding information, but sometimes it does help. It just for these kind of things. So let's see here. Again, thank you all for being here and listening and yeah, I think this will work better than just stopping here. So let's see here. I found the series, and let's see here. Okay. This is not the article I want. This is for the whole series. Okay. So I need to look up the individual book. Right there. Let's try that. Thank you all for being patient as I, there we go. I think that's what we want here. Okay. There we go. So, this series started in, actually started the year I was born, as far as when the first novel was published as a novel. It was released in I believe magazines before, in pieces, but then put together in 1982. So, which is kind of funny because that's the year I was born. I've always liked this series. There are books that, like, I definitely have favorites out of all the books, but other than that, overall, I think it is a good series. Again, it's a dark series. It's actually a good mix of has fantasy, science fiction, western, paranormal, just all these different things together. And so it's a good one. Oh yeah, there we go. Derek found some pictures here, and so yeah, I'll just start with this, and this will be should take us to the end of the episode. So this series focuses on a character named Roland Deshane, or I'm not sure. But basically, he is the last gunslinger who has been chasing someone known as the Man in Black for many years. Excuse me. And in this book, the series really it's a lot about Roland's interactions with different characters as he meets them. The novel is also partly inspired by a poem from Robert Browning, and the poem is called "Child Roland to the Dark Tower Came." This whole Dark Tower series, it's really about basically worlds and universes connected to each other. It's really about the multiverse in a way. So, but this first book starts with Roland basically trying to catch the Man in Black, who is basically a magician, sorcerer, wizard kind of character. And takes place in a world that is similar to the Old West, but it's in an alternate time frame, a parallel universe. The thing that, and here I'm going to be drawing from memories of this series as well. It appears throughout the series as though it's not just a parallel world necessarily, but it could be a time. It could be a different time, because it appears that Roland is on Earth, but all the stars are in different positions. So it's almost like there's been a long stretch of time between the stories, basically this 1980s, 1970s, 80s Earth and the world that Roland comes from. Excuse me. And so it's basically this quest, and I'm sorry, I'm just kind of improvising here, but okay, here we go. So they're basically, it starts off with Roland and the Men in Black in this desert, but they're a good distance apart. And what's really amazing about this book, and this is just observation from someone that likes writing and does some writing here and there. It's actually, I think it's probably one of the only flashbacks within a flashback that ever worked. At least to me anyway. So, but the story is about basically a trap that this man in black set for Roland, where he this man in black, also known as Walter, brought a man back from the dead and used him and other figures in this town, and basically brainwashed them to go after Roland, knowing that most of them were not fighters; they're just regular people in a town. And so, of course, once he's attacked, all these townspeople who are basically being brainwashed, you can't snap them out of it, and so he ends up having to basically kill off this entire town. And then he also, I'm not remembering. The only problem with the flashback is that I'm having a hard time remembering the exact sequence of events, but these all take place basically in the desert or going outside the desert. And he does meet a farmer that he tells about this massacre of this one town, and then eventually he leaves the farmer. He's worried that this farmer is also another trap somehow, even though it doesn't turn out to be that way. But and then Roland finds this way station, almost like a train station, but not quite. There's no trains nearby. It's almost just like a outpost. And he finds this, and this is in the middle of a desert. He finds this younger boy in the middle of this building, this small shack, and the boy doesn't know how he got there. But he does remember that he died in his world. And then he woke up in Roland's world. And Roland is basically ends up having to take the boy with him because he can't leave him behind. And so they go on to after this Man in Black. There's also a lot of flashbacks to Roland as a boy as well, and it basically reveals that Roland was trained, along with his friends, trained to be a fighter and a gunslinger, and he was also tricked into basically confronting or taking this final test with his teacher early by Walter, who was basically controlling Roland's mother. And so Roland takes this test, and surprising everyone, he passes. And but then he gets sent off by his father to basically keep him from being hunted or killed by this by Walter, who arranged everything. So, and it reveals that the story reveals that Roland is after trying to find this dark tower at the center of all of reality that is supporting the beams, these various energy beams. There's almost like a intersection. It's at the intersection of all these beams of energy that you can see floating or flowing through the air in the sky. In Roland's world, anyway. And so he's sent to find this tower because the beams appear to be weakening, and no one knows why. And time is becoming strange. It seems to be it seems to be slowing down, and things seem to be falling apart. Um, yes, there we go in the chat here. And so Roland's quest has always been to find this tower to figure out what's going on, and that is his mission. And he's already basically been instructed that this is all that matters. Now, of course, you can say that, but then when you run into situations, and when you believe that enough, you end up running into situations where you end up doing some things that are not so good. This is, I guess, how I'll say it. And an example of this is at one point, Roland and the boy Jake, who also Roland continues to think of Jake as the boy for most of the story. They come up on a mountain range, and they see the man in black on the top of these mountains, even though it's treacherous traveling. They're pretty sure, Roland is pretty sure he might be able to teleport. But they encounter this man in black while in this mountain range, and Walter, this man in black, says that basically, I'll see one of you on the other side of these mountains. And of course, that's all he says. And so this basically makes Jake afraid that Roland will either kill or leave Jake behind. And so while in these, they go underground or into the mountains basically, and go through along a train track on this hand car, and they have to deal with some basically monsters that are in the cave, of course. And along the way, they finally come to the end of this tunnel, the exit, and they see the man in black at this opening, but Roland basically has a choice of either going after Walter, the man in black here, or saving Jake. But if he saves Jake, which of course is the thing to do, but if he saves Jake, he's afraid, and Walter tells him that that Roland won't be able to get to the tower, which is really, he wants to get to the tower to save all of reality. Which is still a terrible thing to have to do, or to think you have to do. And so basically, when this happens, Roland ends up letting Jake fall into this abyss on either side of the tracks, of these railroad tracks, and then Jake dies again in this world. And so eventually Roland makes it out of this cave, basically scarred by what he did, and he and Walter have this discussion of basically what is reality in a way. Roland tries to kill the man in black, this Walter, for what he did, or what he made Roland do. But his guns don't work against this sorcerer. And that's basically where that first book ends. So, but I believe that covers everything for that book. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously. But and then there's another 6 books in the main series, and then, like I said, there's connections to the series in other books, including the Talisman and Black House, which I just reviewed earlier. So, but I think that'll do it for today. we'll get to the other books in that series either next week or the week after. And thank you all for bearing with me as I kind of decided on the spur of the moment to find the information on that book. And also, I want to thank Derek for sharing some images here in the chat, in the stream chat, to go along with that. So, no, I haven't seen the movie, Derek. Let me go back to the chat here and see what I missed. So, thank you all for being here in the chat. But yeah, I think that'll cover it for today. Yeah, no, I never saw the movie. I kind of heard that they tried to shove a lot of the stories or a lot of the series into that one movie. And of course, anyone that knows me knows how annoyed I get with movie adaptations of books, especially when they try to fit so much in to things. So, but anyway, that was fun to get to start that. I think it made sense, and we'll continue that another time. So, tomorrow will be more True Ghost Stories from the Web. Again, just a reminder, no stream Friday, but there will be an episode that will be recorded that afternoon. Again, I'm going to do an respond to questions and ask me anything segment. So if any of you have any questions for me, please feel free to send them to me, either in Discord or in email, which would be salcedoparanormal@gmail.com. And I will respond to them if I can, and on that show. So you all have until noon on Friday, and that's Eastern. So, and then I'll record the episode that early that afternoon and release it, because there's another good friend of the show that I want to that's doing a live stream that I want to be there for that night. So that's why we're doing that a little bit differently this Friday. But until tomorrow night, that'll be it, and I'll talk to you then on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.